problem is this angle down here is your second option, which means the question you're going to have to ask every time that you do this law of sines for an angle is, if you go back to the original problem, so here's the original problem. Angle C is 22. Little a is 10. Little c is 7.5. You found 30, and we put 30 in here, and we're going to finish the problem, and that's going to be fine. The question is, can you put 150 in there also? Like, would that work? So if I put 150 degrees here, the other angle, is that a viable triangle? Now, what I mean by that is it possible to have a triangle with those two angles in it? In this case, the answer is yes. If that was 160, the answer would be no, because 160 and 22 would already be bigger than 180. So that's what you're going to have to check. Does the second answer work? In this case, it does. So you're going to have to complete that triangle also. In the second example I give you, it's not going to work. So that's going to mean that you would just continue with just the one set of answers, just like you guys have been doing. But in this particular problem, it does. So you're going to have to finish this triangle also. So I can do that right now. This is 150 and 22. That's 172. That means this last angle up here is 8 degrees. And just like this one over here, I'm going to have to find angle, or little b. So you're going to have to find little b for both of them. So let me finish this problem here, because this was the one that was just kind of the normal. So this is just a continuation for this one. So I'm going to do, same as before with C's. I'm going to say the sine of angle C, 22, over little c, 7.5, equals the sine of B, 128, over little b. You're going to cross multiply that, and you're going to solve. So this is going to go up here. B times the sine of 22 equals, this goes up here, 7.5 times the sine of 128. You're going to divide both sides by the sine of 22. And there's your little b. Now that is exactly the same as last week. So nothing, nothing new there. So what do I got here? 7.5 times the sine of 128 divided by the sine of 22, 15.8. Put that in the triangle number 1 up here. And you're done. That one. Now, before I move on, let's talk what I said last week about make sure your answers make sense. This is why I'm making you put them on a triangle. Is the biggest side opposite the biggest angle? Well, 128 is definitely the biggest angle, and 15.8 is the biggest side, so that's good. Is the smallest side opposite the smallest angle? Well, there's the smallest side, there's the smallest angle. So this is a valid triangle. I don't have to worry about like having a triangle that doesn't even look valid. Now I'm going to finish this one over here. So I'm really doing the same exact thing I did in this one to find little b. I'm going to set up the proportion. So the sine of 22, little c, big C, over 7.5 equals the sine of b, which is 8, over little b. Cross multiply and solve. B times the sine of 22 equals 7.5 times the sine of 8. Divide this away. And then go to your calculator. So I got on this one 7.5 times the sine of 8 divided by the sine of 22, and you get 2.8. You put that in here. And now I'm again going to check to see if triangle number 2 here, this is the first set, second set, this was the first set of answers, is that possible? So there's my biggest side, 10. There's my biggest angle across from it. So the A's are the biggest. And there's my smallest side, and there's my smallest angle. The B's are the smallest. So like I said, with the ambiguous case, you are going to have problems where it works out that you're going to have to get 2 different sets of solutions. Now, that will not always happen. That's going to be obviously the longest problem is if you end up having 2 different sets of solutions. A lot of times, it's not going to work at all. And I'm not going to make you guys watch me do one of those. I'm just going to kind of show it to you. That way you guys can see. Here's an example. And I didn't even finish the problem, but I'll show you exactly what happened. Okay, so here's another example of a problem that I could set up the law of sines. So here it is again. So if this were the problem I gave you, sine of 30 over 20, there it is, equals the sine of C over 16. Cross multiply and solve, angle C comes out to be 22.6. Now that's nothing special. That's the quadrant 1 version. Remember, the quadrant 2 version is always going to be 180 degrees minus the quadrant 1 angle. So if I took 180, subtracted away 23.6, I would get 156.4. That won't work because if I create this same exact triangle here, everything in blue is a given, so it's right here. And if I tried to put 156 in here, that's not a valid triangle because 156.4 and 30 is bigger than 180. So if the second angle you find, which will be a quadrant 2 angle, if that makes your triangle invalid, meaning bigger than 180 degrees, you just throw that one out and you keep doing this problem the way it is. Now, I'm not going to finish this problem, but you would have to finish it. It doesn't devalidate your first one. You're going to put 23.6 in here. You're going to subtract them from 180 to get that, and you're going to get your second set of solutions, or your first set of solutions, but you're only going to have one set of answers, just like you did with all your homeworks last week, your 2 different days of homework. So that would be just a normal problem to you. Like I said, it's going to be the ones where the second quadrant 2 angle does work, that you are going to have to create a whole second set of answers. And I'll be looking for that, guys. You can't just skip that. That will be like on an assessment. That would be its own answers altogether. Okay, let's try another one. And we'll see if we're kind of getting this a little bit. All right. Second example. So we'll go. All right. So the triangle. I'm just going to draw the triangle and put the measurements in there. So we got A, B, C. I'll tell you, angle A is 30. Little a is 10, and little b is 16. Okay, so this is definitely a potential ambiguous case because you're going to do the law of sines because you got A, and you're going to do it to find angle B. So this will be another scenario where you're going to have to decide whether the second quadrant answer for the angle that you find right off the bat, whether or not it works. So I'm just going to set up my law of sines. Sine of 30 over 10 equals sine of B over 16. Cross multiply. Sine of B equals, that goes up there, 16 sine of 30 over 10. And then this is going to go over as the inverse. And I'm just going to put it in the calculator. So angle B is going to be the inverse sine of that stuff. So clear that out. Inverse sine of 16, the sine of 30, divided by 10. That gives me 53.1. Hopefully you saw that. 53.1. Okay. 53.1. Now, don't even put that in.